Okay, hi. Um, Today I'm gonna introduce this paper called Mapping Cortical Change Across the Human Lifespan. This paper was published in the Nature Neuroscience in 2003, and this paper was mentioned in the second paragraph in the sections of brain changes continue after adolescence, in chapter 8. Okay, So this paper was related to three components, including gray matter and white matter, maturing, aging, maturation, and degeneration. Let's talk about our brain tissue. Uh, this I've arranged for for you. Okay. First of all, the main issue is related to the development of uh, gray matter and white matter. Both of all are the part of neuron cell. So let's review what is the gray matter and the white matter. The gray matter was combined with the cell body, dendrites, and the synapse. On the other hand, the axons were covered by the myelin, serves in an installator called white matter. This section. Okay, so Um, the other issues were related to the human development. Generally speaking, there are two stages focused on these studies. One is maturing, which means that people from early childhood to adulthood, and the other is aging. The other stage is aging, which means people from adulthood to old age. So Okay, so far, in literature regarding the first stage, from childhood to adulthood, we mentioned before, one study showed that maturational changes in gray matter density parietal cortex matured earlier than frontal cortex. We could look into this phenomena from the aspect of the dendrite pruning. Uh, did you remember in chapter we talked about the synaptic densities? The pattern of synaptic density or the development of synaptic density may be different from various cortex. Sorry, that is frontal cortex and the visual cortex. It's different, right? So uh, the maturation changes in G&D may be different. Okay. The other study showed that the gray matter volume decreased after puberty, while white matter volume progressively increased, and these findings was based on the longitudinal data. It means that combining these two findings, it means that the change of great matter density exceeds the spatially and the temporally specific patterns. Regarding the second stages we mentioned before, from adulthood to old age, one study showed that the decline in gray matter volume is prominent between adulthood and old age. Particularly in solar and the superior parietal gray, whereas white matter value increased between 90 and 14 years. Did you notice that um, the G and D, gray matter density declining in the both stage? So I'll caution this. Uh, That's the function of the pattern of the declining of a gray matter density differs between the two different stages of life. Previous studies show the function of the loss of gray matter when maturing differs from when aging. So fundamentally, authors mentioned that three factors, including myelination, synaptic pruning, and cell shrinkage, could cause to explain the phenomena of the gray matter declining. First of all, myelination means that the neurons build up a layer of myelin on their axon. So when continuing forming the myelins on the axon, the white matter density will increase. Meanwhile, the gray matter density would decrease because it would be covered by this gray matter. Sorry. Okay. One of the post-mortem studies stated that the myelination continues into a person's 30s and perhaps beyond, which could explain the increase in cerebral white matter in adulthood. Secondly, synaptic pruning means those synapses that we seldom used would be eliminated. So it is part of synapse is one of part of the gray matter. So this also leads the gray matter density declining. Lastly, cell shrinkage means the neurons are gonna be dead. This situation usually occurs when we get old. Regarding the methods, you can see the slides. So I will not talk about this. Okay, so let's go to further to see the result and the discussions. I'll show you some pictures. As you can see, these two pictures on the left side, it means the nonlinear regression model, which authors assumed. The positive nonlinear regression coefficient represents the U shape, like the top left figure, this one. On the other hand, the negative nonlinear regression coefficient represents the inverse U shape, like a bottom left figure, this one. In this paper, authors used the Bonferroni correction to avoid the type 1 error at the results show that the age could significantly predict GMD, great matter density, at the nonlinear model in the area of the frontal and parietal lobes. For example, in the superior frontal sulcus, there was loss of great matter density of approximately 32% between the age of 7 and 16 years, declining to only the 5% loss between the age of 13 and 87 ages. While the most lateral aspect of the brain in the posterior temporal and the inferior parietal lobes bilaterally show the different patterns. One is which the nonlinear edge effects are inverted to the edge effect seen in more dorsal cortex. In contrast to figures. In contrast to percentage changes reported above for the superior frontal sulcus, only the 12th decline in the great matter density were observed in the superior temporal sucrose between the age of 7 and 16 years, and increasing to a 24% decline between the age of 13 and 87 years, and the loss of gray matter density seems to start at the 13 years old, which means the late maturation. Moreover, the inter-individual variability shows greater in this area than superior frontal subclass. You can see the distribution. So these two different patterns of gray matter density decline also confirm the spatially and temporally specific patterns of gray matter declining. So to list this kind of late maturation in the left temporal lobes, previous studies also reported that maturation in the temporal lobes of children and adolescents continues later than those maturations in other cortical regions. Authors argue that it may be related to language learning. Certain language skills, such as vocabulary and overall linguistic proficiency, can continue to develop into later adulthood. So, did you remember some language learning functions located in our posterior temporal cortex? In our textbook in chapter 5, figure 5.5 will mention these topics. There are Rannicles area in charge of alphabetic codes, and the word-formed area, which is involved in processing the spelling, sounds, and meaning of words. So, I'm not sure that I have enough time to introduce the following pictures, such like this and this and this in the class, so I just skip it. Okay, let's go to the fine. Okay, lastly, let me talk about the pattern of gray matter density declining in the different stage, which may occur with different function. So firstly, let's look at the left side pictures, which show that the maturation continually occurs until 40 years old. So that may be one of the reasons why the loss of gray matter density during puberty. Because the melanations increase the white matter values, and meanwhile decrease the gray matter value decrease. Okay, so as you can see, after age 14 years, melanation will not occur anymore, which leads a white matter decline. On the other hand, the gray matter density or value still decline, which means that it may be influenced by the cell shrinkage. That may be one of the main difference between these two stages. Finally, the conclusion is highly significant nonlinear patterns of GMD gray matter density lose the most rapidly during the first 6 decades of life over dorsofrontal and parietal lobes on both interhemispheric and the lateral brain surface, while the pattern of age-related changes in gray matter density was inverted in posterior temporal cortex in the left hemisphere, which I just explained before. It's related to the language learning, right? Also, where gray matter density gain continued until about age 13. Okay, so thank for your attention. If you have any questions, this is my email. You can send me. I will try my best to give your feedback. Thank you.